Okay folks, welcome to my channel, Let's Talk Amish. For those who haven't seen my channel before, my name is Brian, and I will be explaining things about the Amish from my point of view, from the 7 years that I spent with them, and also from what I have learned in the years after spending time with different groups. As I explained before in my last video, I was not actually Amish. I was Old Order Mennonite, but we were stricter than the Amish. And today I'll be trying to explain some of those differences. Today, the main topic of our video is, what are the Amish? So, everybody asks me, where do the Amish come from? Why do they do this? Why do they talk that way? Why do they choose to shun? Why do they choose not to allow worldly devices? Well, today I hope I can explain most of those. But to start off, I want to bring you back to the history of the original Amish people. Even back further to the original Anabaptist. In 1536, a young man by the name of Menno Simons, a priest in the Catholic Church, left the church because he felt like they were teaching wrong doctrine. He joined a group at the time called the Swiss Anabaptist Brethren, started by 3 other men. Don't remember all their names totally. They would have started what they would call the Swiss Anabaptist Brethren. After Menno Simons joined, they called themselves once again the Swiss Anabaptist Brethren, but Menno Simons became their main principal leader. After Menno Simons passed away, they changed their church name to Mennonites, hence the name Mennonites that we hear all over in the United States. Now the confusing thing is that there's lots and lots of different groups of Mennonites. We will not get into that because that could take 100 years just to explain the differences. But today I want to explain to you how the Amish came from that original Mennonite group. Around the years of 1693, a man by the name of Jacob Almond had a disagreement with the then Mennonite bishops. His disagreement led to the fact that he wanted to be separate from the world. He wanted to shun harder than the Mennonites had agreed on, and by so doing he meant that he wanted to kick out those that had offended and not talk to them, not eat with them, have nothing to do with them. Now the Mennonites agreed with most of those things. If you'd read the book of Menno Simons, you would see that. But one of the things they did not agree with was shunning the world. They believed that according to what Jesus had said, that they would have to leave the world to not have anything to do with them, and that was impossible without death. Well, Jacob Almond believed quite opposite. He believed that yes, you could shun the world, have nothing to do with them, live in your community, and be just as you were there. So he separated, and about half of the group would have gone with him, and started what we today now know as the Amish. Now, an interesting fact is that they actually came from the area that today we know as the Netherlands. But at the time, they spoke a lot of Swiss German. I can't exactly remember all the names, but Zurich would have been the area where they would have started from, in Germany, or Switzerland. I have no idea. I'm just human. I don't understand everything. But they would have moved, certain groups would have moved up through Germany and into Holland and then into the United States, whereas other groups would have moved from Switzerland through Germany and into Russia, and from Russia into Canada, and hence into the United States. Now just so you know, the Amish aren't only in the United States. We have Amish in Canada, Mexico, South America, and even parts of Germany have certain small groups of Amish, and each one has their distinct different rules. Now I don't have experience with the ones in Mexico and South America and Canada as much as I do the ones in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Missouri. A large group is in even Florida. As of now, we know that there's about 23 states that have Amish in them, according to a survey done back in 2010, and 1 Canadian province, and South America and Mexico. Now, we don't know their exact number, but we do know that there's close to 296,000 Amish and Mennonite people in the United States as of now. Well, as of 2010. I guess it's a lot later now. They said that the Amish have grown at a crazy rate compared to the rest of the United States. I think they said it was 149% growth from the Amish compared to 23% growth amongst the normal Americans. So who knows, maybe we'll be overtaken by Amish someday. Nah, just kidding. They're pretty quiet people. They don't want to take over anything. Now, one of the unique things that people ask me about the Amish is, what is the language they speak? Now, we call it Pennsylvania Dutch, but in all reality, all it is a dialect of Low German. It would be a mixture of Swiss and German. Some people call it Plattdeutsch, which is actually incorrect. That would be more the group that came through Russia would speak more Plattdeutsch. Actually, the language is basic Low German. Like I said, Low German, Swiss, a little bit of English, and nowadays it's even getting more and more corrupted with English. Now, the reason that it got called Pennsylvania Dutch is unsure. We have a lot of myths about it. My favorite being the one about them doing a census in the United States. They were going through before the Revolutionary War trying to figure out where the Amish came from, where the Dutch people came from, where everybody came from, so that they could see who was going to be on England's side and who was going to be on America's side. So they came to the groups in Pennsylvania. The first group they met was a Dutch colony, which nowadays there are very little Dutch people in the United States. Most of them went back to Holland. And they asked them, where are you from? And they said, "We zijn Dutch," which basically means we are Dutch. So they came to the Amish people and they asked them, where are you from? And they said, "We zijn Dutch." Well, technically it's Deutsch, but because of the Swiss, they said Deutsch instead of Deutsch. So the English people said, well, we don't know. Are they Dutch? Are they German? Are they English? Well, we don't know. So we're going to call them Dutch, since Deutsch and Deutsch are the closest. So from that day on, they have been called Pennsylvania Dutch. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I have no idea, but I do like the story. And to this day, all the people that are raised in the Amish church, especially in Pennsylvania and Ohio, are raised speaking that language. It is their first language. They only learn English once they start going to school, or so it used to be. But nowadays it turns out that a lot of them are having more interaction with the world, and therefore they're learning a lot more of the English before they go to school. There also are groups, specifically in Virginia, that don't even speak any Dutch anymore. The reason being is they're such a small group, they had so much contact with the world, and not as much contact with other people from their groups, that the English became their main language. I went and talked to one at one time, he could not understand a word of Dutch. Now hopefully I can explain in these videos how much I desire for the people to hold on to their heritage and to hold on to that Dutch. It's not up to me, I know, but that's my desire, is to show you guys who they are in reality and truth, but also to preserve their heritage. Now, after Jacob Ammann left the Mennonites, he started the group, moved to Canada, and moved down to the United States. A large group staying up in certain parts of Canada. I'm not exactly sure if it's British Columbia or somewhere around there, but it's a large group. Then they moved to Pennsylvania in 1720 to 1730s. That was their largest gathering that moved to Pennsylvania. And after that, they started moving into Ohio. They started moving to other states because of cheaper land. But originally they moved into Pennsylvania to take advantage of the Free Land Act that William Penn had started, the free religious freedom and the freedom of moving in without any cost, as long as you could homestead it. And that's why so many of them settled in Pennsylvania, or what is today known as Pennsylvania. Now, years later, we can see now, as we watch the Amish, the original reason that they did split for the shunning of the world and shunning of the outside and everything is no longer accurate. The Amish are starting to adapt to more and more of the worldly things. We are seeing more and more cell phones. They're hiring drivers a lot more. Some of them are even sneaking computers and TVs into their barns. I can't say I was too innocent of that. I snuck a DVD player into our church, taught the boys what some of the movies were. We had a little bit of fun with it till one of the girls tattled on us. But such is life, you know. Girls always tattle. Just kidding. My wife's giving me glances like I'm dangerous. But in our church, we were a little bit different. We tried to hold more towards the original Pennsylvania Dutch, this more Swiss dialect. We also strove to have nothing to do with the outside culture. We didn't go to grocery stores more than we absolutely had to. In our church, we were not even allowed to hire drivers. Unless it was considered an emergency, for example, a hospital visit, somebody had been hit, somebody had been hurt. We did allow ambulances and hospital visits. And if we were buying something at an auction, it was too big to take home on our buggy, or it was too far away to take home on our buggy, we would pay our driver to pick it up for us and take it home for us. Now, people ask us, what do we do when we're the Amish? We don't have anything to do with the world, right? We don't get involved. Well, that's not totally accurate. But in our church, we did keep ourselves as much separate as we could. We actually weren't allowed to have outside jobs. We had to work on the farm. Now, I myself, as I explained in a former video, I was a tobacco farmer and a produce farmer. We did mostly those two things, and then there was a couple little odd jobs we do on the side. Now, the produce farming, we did have to deal with public auctions, but they were in Mennonite Amish communities, so we didn't really deal that much with the outside except for them to pick it up and buy it and leave. Most of the auctioneers were Mennonites or Amish, and most of the people that come in, they would be plain people. Some were what we'd call Stetla, or city people, or outsiders. Now, the Amish call them different. They call them Englishers. Now, we never called anybody Englishers because we figured we all speak English. But we did call them Stetla, or Stetla Light, which basically means city people, city slickers, city folk. Now, to this day, I still have a hard time not saying Stetla Light when I talk about the other people. Now, one of the unique things about our church that was different than the Amish of nowadays is that even though the Amish separated because they wanted to shun everything, we actually did. To this day, I am shunned from my church for leaving. Whereas a lot of the Amish have actually dropped that because of the reason of it being too harsh and overbearing. They found out that it did more harm than good, because when they started shunning, people said, oh, we don't need anything to do with you either, goodbye. And so they decided to change their mind. They started being more accepting. Now today I want to speak about one thing that a lot of people have asked me. What is Rumspringa? And I want to explain to you guys that that is basically a myth. Don't get me wrong, there is such a thing as Rumspringa. But if you think about it, the exact German translation of Rumspringa means bouncing around, or in our translation we call it running around. At the age of 16, we were allowed to go out and join the youth group. And that meant that on Wednesday evenings and Saturday and Sunday evenings, we would gather with the youth group and enjoy games that they'd play. We played volleyball on Wednesdays and Sundays. We'd have singing Saturday evenings and Sunday evenings. We'd mow the churchyard with an old push reel mower. On Wednesdays, the girls would mow the lawn, us boys would come over and bike them home so that they didn't have any danger on the way home. Things like that. That was things that you were allowed to do after 16 years old. Anything before that, from around 12 to 16, we called them half-cracks. Don't ask me where we got the name half-cracks, I don't know. But it was kind of amusing. We just figured they were half cracked up, not fully cracked up. And those, they would always dream of being with the youth group, but they weren't allowed to till they turned 16. Now, the misconception about Rumspringa, as the world would usually see it today, is that of Wildspringa, which basically means running wild, or hopping around wild. It was when the youth would decide that they weren't satisfied with the church's way, and they wanted to see if there was anything else for them out there. Now, people say, well, the church allows that. Technically, no. The church did not allow them to run wild. But they aren't a member of the church, therefore they cannot be punished by church rules. Once they become a member, no matter whether it's 14 or 16 or 18 years of age, once they join the church can punish them, and then that Wildspringa would not be allowed. Another reason that the parents allow is because they realize at 16 that the child is now an adult. They need to start making their own decisions. They're no longer punished after 16, unless they've done a very, very bad thing, which don't happen that often. But so basically, since the parents can't control them because they want them to make their own decisions, And since the church is not allowed to punish them, they go out in the wild and nobody can do anything about it. And most of them were coming back for years and years. Back in the 50s, it was common to see 90 to 95% come back. Nowadays, though, with the world so easy and everything so fantastic, we're seeing a lot more not coming back. Or if they do come back, they don't stay back. They keep on desiring to go after the world. So a lot of churches are highly discouraging the Rumspringa, as you would call it, or what we call Wildspringa state. So that being said, there are certain small groups here and there, specifically in Ohio, I know of a couple, that do still allow the Wildspringa. So hopefully that will clear up the misconception about Rumspringa versus Wildspringa. And hopefully I've been able to explain today about who the Amish are, what they are, where they came from. And hopefully later on I'll be able to explain more into detail certain things about them and explain certain cases from my life where I had my mishaps, my joys, and my times with the Amish. Just so you know, I want you all to understand that I do not intend to bash the Amish. I enjoyed my time with them, and I would go back if it wouldn't be for some certain things. One thing, I'm married, and my wife, I don't think she could handle that lifestyle right now. Maybe someday. But, till later, I will explain more then. And hopefully you guys will ask questions. If you want to, you can ask any questions you want. Just post them in the comments down below. And I will look at them. I look at my photos daily just to see if I can get any comments. So feel free to message. And I'll try to answer every question I get. And please don't forget to subscribe. And also hit the little bell notification. That way you won't miss any more of my videos. Once again, I plan to be uploading every Wednesday. If I can, if health allows. I'm really sorry if I don't always make it, but I'm going to try my best. And that's all for now. Say dich später alles and mach's gut. Or as we'd say in English, see you later and behave. Okay, bye for now.